and Senator Obama is still considered a near lock for the Democratic nomination. Tonight's results don't really change that. But the Clinton campaign seems to have a new strategy they're testing out, telling voters to ignore the media's relentless push for her to drop out.
I don't think we have a problem with too much democracy in America. I think we have a problem because too often folks who are sitting in Washington or on TV sets tell people what you're supposed to think and what you're supposed to do. And I don't believe that's the best way America can work. The strength of our country comes from our people.
So you just remember one other thing. Every time you turn on the television and you listen to one of those people dissing her, they all have a college degree, they've all got a good job, they've all got health care, and they're having no trouble filling up their gas tank.
Okay, well, joining us now from Washington, Clinton supporter and old friend Lanny Davis. Lanny, great to see you.
Great to see President Clinton doing his thing.
Well, I find it interesting, Lanny, that now you all are coming along to this conclusion that we've had, we conservatives, for decades. The media is liberal, and it's always going to favor the more liberal candidate in a race. Will you say now that the media is liberal and it has an agenda?
Well, I have to say that I now know what it feels like to be a Republican.
Yeah, well, Fox News actually has given Mrs. Clinton, we're going to hear from her any moment, gave Mrs. Clinton the fairest shake of all these networks. Would you not agree with that?
I would agree with that, and the emails that I receive from Clinton supporters say that they've turned off the other two cable stations and they watch Fox. So something has happened out there where I think Fox has achieved the fairness and balance that it's always says it's been. But, you know, complaining about the media is really not the issue for us. The issue is that she ends stronger than she began. He ends weaker than he began, and we're seeing a convention that may be nominating the weakest candidate that everybody recognizes but almost feels as if they have to do something that they don't want to do. That's not the way to go into the general election. She's clearly the stronger candidate versus John McCain. There's really nobody that questions that anymore.
You know what's interesting is since this has gone on for all these weeks and months now, we, the voters, I think have learned so much about both candidates. We've learned that Hillary Clinton can take a punch and keep on going. We've learned that Barack Obama, you know, clearly has issues with certain rural voters, working class voters, in places like West Virginia and Kentucky. I mean, to lose by 22 points in Kentucky, I mean, it could have been a lot bigger there, but he clearly has some vulnerabilities. I think in the end, that is good for the people of this country. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we learn more in this process, and isn't that a good thing?
I think it's actually good for the Democratic Party that we're, for the first time in anybody's memory, going to allow all 50 states to participate. I mean, when John Kerry won Iowa and New Hampshire 4 years ago, it was all over. Nobody participated.
Montana and Puerto Rico are going to have their say, Lanny, if Mrs. Clinton has anything to say about it.
And don't forget South Dakota. But look, the reality of this contest is that Hillary Clinton, that I knew in law school, funny, down to earth, warm, great friend, great person.
Jokes. She's making them herself, which is good. I like that.
And tough, but yet gracious in this contest. She's lost graciously. She's won graciously. She hasn't patronized people. I think she comes out positive.
But Bill Clinton has gotten hammered for some of his comments, the race issue. I mean, didn't we have Toni Morrison out there recently saying, "Well, wait a second. When I said he was the first black president, I didn't really mean that. I mean, we might, you know, have the next black president." So I mean, they've taken their licks in this contest.
You know, Bill Clinton, if he made any mistakes at all, it's been overly defending his wife, who he believes in, and that one statement he made in person in a small group that I was in.
The Jesse Jackson statement, or it's a total joke statement?
Well, he made some mistakes in judgment and saying certain things, but it was always for the purpose of helping his wife. And he said, and I think it's the best thing that I've heard him say, wish he had said it more often, that in my lifetime there's never been a more qualified candidate for president, including myself.
Who goes to her and says it's time? I mean, who ultimately will make that, you know, call or go to her and say, you know, I know you want to fight to the convention, but it's time?
I think that all of her advisors go to her to tell her who she should pick for vice president.
Yeah, okay. But what about Bill? What about Bill Clinton? I mean, is he the one who has this conversation?
Well, assuming that I'm wrong, that she's not the nominee, I think Hillary Clinton makes her own decision about the graceful and the gracious way of announcing that she's not going to continue. But I think that this goes to the convention unless they treat Michigan and Florida correctly. And on May 31st, the Rules Committee of the party is going to have to decide that question, or else this is going to go to the
I
convention.
mean, Lanny, how bizarre is it now that you look at the media and you see the media has a liberal agenda? You see that now. They're not going after her because she's a woman. They're going after her because she's not as liberal as Barack Obama. That's just a fact. That's where the media is. So you see that, and you also see the fact that if these rules in these Democratic contests were like the Republicans' rules, Hillary Clinton would be the nominee, no question about it, right?
Well, yes, but I would also say that they were like the rules of the United States Constitution, which says the big states have the electoral votes, not Idaho, Kansas, North Dakota, and Wyoming having more power than Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, and Michigan.
Didn't Hillary want to get rid of the whole Electoral College at one point? I remember when I wrote the Hillary Trap. I think she was at one point against the Electoral College.
We're very much in favor of counting by electoral college.
All right, now she's for it. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's she.
There's something wrong with our system. If I had ever said to Hillary Clinton in the beginning of the campaign, you'll win every major industrial state from California to New York to Ohio and Pennsylvania, Michigan, Texas,
Right.
you name it.
What does she do after this?
And all the border states, and you're not the
Well,
nominee.
that's where we are. What does she do after this? Well, she just goes back to the Senate and has a quiet life as a junior senator from New York?
Honestly, I'm not going to be on this program to say she's not going to be the nominee, but if you want me to do a big if, I think she's in Robert Kennedy's Senate seat where she can do more good for the United States than in any other position she might be in.
That's going to be enough for the Clintons?
I hope so, that's where she
Supreme
ends
Court
up.
Justice, maybe? There's gulps going on all across the country right now. Gasps.
U.S. Senator in Robert Kennedy's Senate seat.
Lanny, it's great to see you as always.